Hello, greetings everybody, greetings family. Just taking this brief moment to talk to you for just a moment. My name is Ajamu Umi, and I'm an organizer for the All African People's Revolutionary Party. I'm also one of the editors for the Hood Communist Collective, and just reaching out to you to let you know about this very recently released manifesto I've put out entitled A Guide for Organizing Defense Against White Supremacist, Patriarchal, and Fascist Violence. And I had a young indigenous native comrade just recently send me a picture. And in the picture, the comrade had these two books together, Kwame Nkrumah's Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare, written in 1968, and then my guide here, for defense against white supremacist, patriarchal, and fascist violence. And I really appreciated that because that really sums up the essence of what I was intending to do when I created this 76-page manifesto. And to understand what I mean by that, the All African People's Revolutionary Party was called for in the handbook by Kwame Nkrumah in 1968. And Nkrumah wrote that handbook because after experiencing coming to power as the president of Ghana and the Convention People's Party in 1957, and then experiencing the imperialist sabotaged episode in the Congo where our brother comrade Patrice Lumumba and two other important comrades were assassinated, murdered, and the Congo was sabotaged so that the vast mineral resources that exist there, it's the most mineral rich region on the entire planet, could be maintained under the possession and control of imperialism. And then after experiencing the coup d'etat the illegal coup d'etat that overthrew his government in Ghana 5 years later in 1966, Nkrumah wrote this handbook. And in it, he described that true revolutionary Pan-Africanism, which we define as one unified socialist Africa, is only going to happen when the masses of people take control of our movement and organize on the ground throughout the African continent through Pan-African political formations. And so for the last 50 years, the All African People's Revolutionary Party, or AAPRP, has used Nkrumah's handbook as a guide, a strategic guide for how we believe revolutionary Pan-Africanism, or one unified socialist Africa, is going to happen in Africa. And we believe that Pan-Africanism is the only solution because we believe that until Africa is free, no African anywhere on earth will be free. The entire wealth that was created, generated, and maintained by the international capitalist and imperialist system is based on exploiting African human and material resources. The labor of our enslaved ancestors built up the capital that created the so-called Industrial Revolution that ushered in the capitalist era that we find ourselves in right now. And the continued exploitation of those human and material resources sustains the capitalist system. So we believe that Pan-Africanism is the only solution. We don't believe that we can find solutions to our problems just in the United States, just in Canada, just in Britain, France, Australia, or even just in Africa. It has to be a process where we create a worldwide fighting force of African revolutionaries, but the base of it is in Africa. So in Nkrumah's handbook, this is what he talks about. And again, for the last 50 years in the APRP, that's been our work of building relationships with on-the-ground formations, and there are many of them. Amilcar Cabral's founded African Party for the Independence of Guinea-Bissau, or the PAIGC. Sekou Touré's party, the Democratic Party of Guinea, many others. And we have spent time over this last 50 years solidifying those relationships on the ground with organizations like the two I just named and many others who agree with Nkrumah's call that African people everywhere need one unified socialist Africa. And I know this work is taking place. I know it's taken place over the last 50 years, and it continues to take place because I've been honored and fortunate enough to participate in helping build a lot of that work throughout the African continent. But one of the questions in all my time in AAPRP that has really put me to the test is what types of specific roles can be played by Africans who don't live in Africa, who don't go to Africa like I do, and who are basically, for example, in the United Snakes and want to build capacity. And of course, many of the issues that exist, just using the US, for example, for African people, are that because we don't have strength and unity, we aren't empowered as a people, independent of the capitalist system, and the cotton has been picked, you all. So our purpose in this US empire ended 150 years ago. Since that time, we've essentially just been in the way here. And so that's why we're shot down like dogs on the street by terrorist police. That's why we're disrespected in the miseducation system. That's why the so-called faith institutions ridicule our existence and do nothing to provide us with any tools to advance towards collective liberation. In fact, those institutions do so much more to keep us enslaved. So this is why we experience this. So what I wanted to do in this guide is simply write a way that we can engage in on-the-ground organizing in our neighborhoods throughout the US. And we could create a reality where we're able to organize neighborhoods and communities for independent empowerment, and that work be linked to our Pan-African work in Africa. Because in order for Pan-Africanism to ever happen, it's gonna have to require Africans in the US to play a critical role, Africans in Canada, et cetera, and so forth. We're in the bellies of the beast. So we have to be able, when our people rise up and have mass strikes in Africa, for example, and those corporations that they're striking from, like Apple or Samsung, those are US-based corporations. So we play a critical role in uniting in that effort to shut this backward system down. So that's what this guide does, is provide us with tools to organize our communities, to position ourselves to be able to do that, while also giving us the tools to strengthen ourselves against protecting our communities against police terrorism, against patriarchal violence, against women and women identifying people, to eliminate this reactionary homophobia that continues to create disunity within our communities, all of these things, to fight against capitalism. And the way that this guide does that is, at first it starts out with a really clear respect given to all of the organizations that have contributed to this work. And then we start talking about the worldwide framework for this revolutionary community defense work that this manifesto is talking about, and how the work needs to be connected to the Pan-African work in Africa, but also for people that are not African and are not, a part of this Pan-African work, whether we're talking about the liberation of Palestine for the Palestinian people, the liberation of Ireland for the Irish people, the Philippines for the Filipino people, and of course, the Americas for the indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere. Then this guide provides a model that can be a template that could be used by all communities to organize the people in their community in a way that empowers these communities. So full disclosure on a couple of things about this manifesto. First, if you're a person that believes that, police can be reformed and that there's just some specific problems with the capitalist system and we can fix those problems and, all we have to do is do that and the problem will be solved, then this is probably not for you. Because the foundation of this manifesto is that this empire was built on the backs of the masses of people in the world, and that the only way we're going to solve this problem is not by passing any bill in the capitalist legislatures, not by voting in one capitalist over another, but by people on a grassroots level organizing against this system to replace it with a worldwide revolutionary process. So that's disclosure number one. Disclosure number two is that the only place that you can get this manifesto is through Amazon.com. And trust me, you all, I get it. I understand what Amazon is as a corporation. I get it. But what most of you do not understand is that it is almost impossible to get revolutionary Pan-Africanist literature published anywhere. There are no long lines of revolutionary Pan-African publishers waiting to publish documents, books like this one. That just does not exist. I've spent years looking. I've spent 3 years putting this 76-page manifesto together, and I've looked far and wide. I've talked to numerous people. It just does not exist. So I understand people don't like Amazon. I don't like Safeway. I don't like Target, but I go there to get almond milk so I can have milk and try to stay as healthy as I can. That does not mean that I'm supporting Target by doing that. And I don't have any moral dilemma behind that, because I spend all day, every day organizing our people and all other people to create a better world. So I think the people who are, just hung up on, well, I don't shop at Amazon. Well, that's probably people who are not in organizations and are not doing any consistent work. So I get that. I understand that principle, but I also understand that we have to support independent revolutionary work whatever way that we can. And so please, understand that that's why this was published the way it was published. And also, what's in here are very critical points about how we go into neighborhoods. What is the humble, practical, and effective process of going in neighborhoods and engaging in block by block organization of neighborhoods? How do we create mass political education processes in neighborhoods? How do we do that? It's in here, it's addressed in here. How do we create mass collective democratic decision-making processes? It's in here. How do we organize people to create safe spaces in neighborhoods against capitalist exploitation, against police terrorism, against white supremacy, against patriarchy, against all of these things? It's all in this guide. How do we improve and do better than the so-called security culture that exists in so many parts of this country that does nothing to strengthen our movements, and instead creates, I would argue, as I do in this book, a lot more obstacles to us building collective power? So all of that is in here, as well as how to use critical tools that we learn and practice in the APRP, like criticism, self-criticism, which we learned from the Democratic Party of Guinea and Sekou Touré. So we're sharing all of this. This guide for defense against white supremacists, patriarchal and fascist violence, it's priced, it's only $8 US, you all. And the reason why I priced it like that is, nobody is gonna get rich writing revolutionary organizing material, especially revolutionary Pan-Africanist organizing material. Nobody has ever gotten rich. You can't name a single person who's gotten rich writing materials like this. So clearly that's not the objective. The objective is to help people organize and become effective at creating power bases. Kwame Ture, who was a significant organizer in the APRP for the last 30 years of his life, when he gave the Black Power salute in June of speech rather, in June of 1966 in Jackson, Mississippi, he talked about then, 55 years ago, that we have to create a power base that will bring them to their knees when they mess with us. So this is what we're going to do. So I appreciated the comrade who sent both of these books, sent a picture of both of these books side by side, because I humbly consider this contribution that I'm attempting to make here as an addendum to Kwame Nkrumah's Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare. And you should look at this as a result of my work within the All African People's Revolutionary Party. It's not a separate thing. It's not me doing my own thing. It's an effort to engage in tactics that I found to work from studying organizations who have engaged in on-the-ground organizing work. And I've spent a tremendous amount of time doing that research, from Hezbollah in Lebanon to the Black Liberation Army in New York to the Land and Freedom Movement, or what you call the Mau Mau in Kenya, to my own experiences in the APRP doing housing justice work, doing block by block neighborhood work, being pepper sprayed by Gestapo police, confronting violent white supremacists like the Oath Keepers, 3%ers, physically confronting these people, you all. I've had the honor and privilege to do those things, and I've learned from them ideas that I wanted to write down, because, you know, I'm not going to live forever, and I'm hopeful that this can be something that can live for a long time and help us get better organized. So I just wanted to take a moment to tell you about that and invite you to hopefully pick up a copy, hopefully get multiple copies to read in your study groups, your organizations, to form study groups, to study the materials in this guide for defense against white supremacist, patriarchal, and fascist violence. And then I also just, the last thing, wanted to invite you to a book event, that a virtual book release event that will be held on April 4th, the commemoration of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It'll be from 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific time. And you can join through facebook.com/JamuUmi.Umi, my page, or you can join through the Umi Fam YouTube channel. And you can go to abetterworld.me, which is my blog, and you can get the Zoom link. So let's get organized, support these efforts. And also, you know, we have, my daughter and I, Shakura, we host workshops, 1-hour workshops, this same time frame you see here, 4 to 5 Pacific time, through these same channels, Facebook and YouTube, every Sunday. This Sunday, we're going to be talking about African Liberation Month instead of Black History Month. And next month is Women's History Month, Women Identifying People History Month. So we're going to have a number of, all 4 sessions next month are going to be honoring women, specifically African women. On March 7th, we're going to be, Shakura is working on her PhD in African women's health issues. So she's going to be talking extensively about that for this weekly session. But please go and buy the a guide for defense against white supremacist, patriarchal, and fascist violence. Please spread the word. You know, African revolutionaries, we're not going to be on CNN and MSNBC and Fox and CIA network. They're not letting us on there to talk to you about how to organize power against police terrorism. Y'all know that. So if you don't spread the word about works like this, it is not going to go out. And if it doesn't go out, then that means our people don't have the chance to learn about skills that can help us get free. That's all we're trying to do. Any money that's generated from this, clearly selling it for only $8 hard copy, only $5 digital Kindle, is not going to generate a lot of money. But whatever money it does generate, I'm just going to use to order more of these and spread the word to people throughout the communities far and wide. So please help us do this. We just want to, all I want to do is make my cause so I can continue doing the work. That's it. And y'all know, if you study the history of not just myself individually, but the APRP, we give, we don't take. We are not these hucksters on the internet fleecing the people to make money. We are contributors to forward progress of humanity. Nobody anywhere can question that. So we ask your support with this manifesto and all the work that we do. We have comrades everywhere doing weekly programs like the one I mentioned that myself and my daughter are involved in. You should support those. You should support all genuine efforts to organize people for justice. And I really appreciate you giving me this time to watch this either live or video, whichever way you're looking at it. We appreciate you. We just want to get free, you all. We just want to truly get free. We know that's not going to happen through the Democratic or Republican parties. We know that's not going to happen through the labor parties anywhere on earth. We know that's not going to happen through any of these capitalist organizations. It's only going to happen when we get organized. Kwame Ture was 100% correct when he said organization is the weapon for the oppressed. And this is just simply an effort to help us get organized. So help us do this work, you all. Forward to one unified socialist Africa. Thank you for your time. Forward ever, backwards never. Smash patriarchy, and y'all stay strong.